As a mold maker, it was very unusual requests that came in because mold making, people didn't even know they needed it until they needed it. Hi, I'm Michael Joy. Welcome back to Absolute Joy, where I share some business stories that sometimes they have practical lessons and sometimes there's no lesson at all. It's just the craziness of being in business. I have to orient this story. I'm at the loft at the Lorelei, the ballroom, if you've seen part of our story, my first art studio after school. And at that point, we were reliant on jobs from the job board at the Art Institute, word of mouth, that's it. There was nothing else. So I got this call one day. And we used to have this funny thing in the shop when it was me and Peter, is that when the phone would ring, which happened rarely, we'd start screaming, "Business, business, business." We'd run around and we'd try to pick up the phone. And then before I would answer the phone, I would say, "Okay, go use the saw. Let it wind down just as I pick up." And when I picked up the phone, it sounded like there were machine noises in the back or something like that. And then if Peter answered the phone, he would say, "Oh, you'd like to speak to Michael?" He'd be like, "Okay, just a minute." And he'd cover the phone loosely and he'd say, "Michael, line 4. So he tried to sound bigger than we were. This one time I got a message that someone called from New York who wanted a mold of a nose. I called her back. Somebody with an accent, a very lovely accent, picked up the phone. They either employed the same strategy of answering the phone, or I think they were just really rich. I'm gonna go with they were really rich. So I asked for this lady, let's say her name was Laura, and the person on the phone said, "Oh, Miss Laura, just a moment, please." And I heard her set down the phone, and then I heard long, long steps across a marble floor. A lot of steps, and I'm thinking, this is New York. This person has a very large apartment. Miss Laura comes to the phone, super sweet gal. I called about having a mold made of a nose, and I said, "But you're in New York, are you gonna be in Chicago?" And she said, "No, here's the story, I need a mold of my friend's nose." And I'm like, "Well, you got me interested. I'm taking your friends in Chicago, what's going on?" And she says, "Well, I'm going to have plastic surgery, and my friend has the most perfect nose, and I would like to have a model made of her nose, three-dimensional, so I can bring it to my surgeon, and he can recreate her nose on my face." And I'm like, "Absolutely, we can do it. When is your friend coming by?" But I thought this lady was very creative. For her to know, A, that she would need a mold maker for her nose, I think she found somebody in New York to do it. The only reason she was reaching out to Chicago is that's where her friend is. And my guess, with that amount of marble floor, she flew her friend wherever it needed to be done. But I was ready to do the job. I had my skin-safe silicone ready to go. I got some more stories for you too. This one's next was with the sergeant. He knocked on my door. "Who is it?" "It's the police." I was like, "Oh, shit."